What's up, everybody? This is Domingo Hero Network, and today's Yu-Gi-Oh! Video I'm going to be doing, I'm going to do a top 10 Iceberg monsters that are not in the structure deck freezing chains. So here we go. Now, I think some of you guys might be surprised that there are some Iceberg monsters that are not in the Iceberg structure deck. So I did a little research. I even look at the list of the structure deck freezing chains, and also I look at the list of Iceberg monsters. And I just found 10 Iceberg monsters that are not in the structure deck freezing chains, and there are some reasons for that, which I'll explain to that in just a moment. So yeah, 10 Iceberg monsters, and I think some of you guys might be surprised at some of these Iceberg that are not in the structure deck freezing chains. And of course, when I do this top 10, there are some Iceberg monsters, Iceberg cards that will not be on this list because these are the ones that came out a few months after the structure deck freezing chain came out. Now remember, the Iceberg structure deck freezing chain came out in February of 2021. So the cards are not going to be included on this list. It's going to be Judge of the Ice Barrier, there's the Ice Barrier token, and even the trap card Ice Barrier. Now the reason why I said it is because those three cards did came out in 2021, the same year as the structure deck freezing chain. However, those three cards came out a few months after the structure deck freezing came out. Now remember, the Ice Barrier structure deck came out in if I can find the list, it came out in February of 2021. Judge of the Ice Barrier came out in September of 2021. The Ice Barrier token came out in October of 2021. And the Ice Barrier tracker came out in November of 2021, a few months later. And also, I will not be including the new Ice Barrier support that came out earlier this year, which is Lancia and Mirror Mage and Gorgeous, and those cards, because those cards came out earlier this year in 2024. So we're gonna get this started. So of course, before we start, I want to mention one more thing before we do this top 10, is that there are some Ice Barrier cards that that actually made it to the structure Ice Barrier freezing chains, including we all know the support Ice Barriers with Reveal of the Ice Barrier, Speaker, the Nutritional Zero, freezing chains and stuff like that. And then they even brought back reprinting some of the old Ice Barrier monsters that came out over a decade ago, like Dance Princess, Spellbreaker, even cards like Strategist, Prior, Defender, Cryomancer got reprinted, Blizz, Defender, and etc. So yeah, like those cards got reprinted. So in this top 10 list, there are going to be 10 Ice Barrier monsters that are not in the structure freezing chain that came out over a decade ago, way before Ice Barriers got new support, way before that freezing chains came out. So let's not waste any time. So without further ado, let's get this started. So here we go. Alright guys, we're going to get this top 10 Ice Barrier monsters that are not in the structure that freezing chains started. So coming in at number 10, we have Numbing GB in the Ice Barrier. So Numbing is a water attribute level 4 insect effect monster. It has 1300 attack and 1800 defense, and its effect reads: when this card is normal summon, select one unused monster card zone while this card is face up on the field. That select monster card zone cannot be used. Of course, this card first came out in the Gold Series 3 set back on June 23rd, 2010. Now, obviously, this card is, in my opinion, is not really that good. It's not that good of a card. Now, the effect about, selecting an unused monster zone and then, you cannot use it is actually a good idea. But this card is just not really that great, honestly, because I feel like the effect of this card is kind of useless at this point. Because if you ever let's say you normal summon this card, you used it, whatever, you could select an unused monster card zone your opponent has. But let's say if it leaves the field, right? If it leaves the field, then that unused monster console will be used again. So this card was not in the Ice Barrier structure deck, and there's obvious reasons, because this card is not that good. It's horrible. Like it's not really that good of an Ice Barrier card, and no Ice Barrier player is going to play this card. This card is, because the effect at this point is very useless, so it's not that great of a card to play. All right, so coming in at number 9, we have Royal Knight of the Ice Barrier. So this card is a water attribute, level 5, warrior effect monster. It has 2,000 of attack and defense, and its effect reads: when this card is tribute summoning, special summon 1 Ice Coffee token, aqua type water attribute, level 1, attack 1,000, defense is 0, in attack position to your opponent's side of the field. This token cannot be tribute for tribute summoning. All right, so Royal Knight first came out in Starstrike Blast. That was on November 16, 2010. This card, honestly, yeah, it has a decent attack and defense of 2,000, but honestly, the effect of this card is not really that good. And let me tell you why. Because the fact that, you know, if you use the effect tribute summon it, and then you just special summon 1 Ice Barrier token to your opponent's side of the field attack position. But there comes a times where if you get a chance to do that, and then let's say you enter battlefield, let's say that monster survives in the battle, if your opponent finds a way to stop you and all that stuff, you know, and then you end your turn, and then during your opponent's turn, your opponent can use that Ice Coffin token as a either a single material or even a link material or whatever, and use that as an advantage for them, basically. So yeah, this effect of this card is not that good, and obviously this card was not in the Ice Barrier structure deck. So, and there's many reasons, because the effect of this card, even though it has a good 2,000 attack, it's not really that good. It's not that really good, and I feel like it's kind of a waste of your tributing summoning as well. And of course, the token is not an ice. It doesn't say Ice Barrier token. It just say Ice Coffin token. So yeah, I don't think this card is not that good. The effect of this card is not that great. All right, coming in at number 8, we got Do Dark of the Ice Barrier. So this card is a water attribute, level 2, is an aqua tuner effect monster. It has 1,200 attack and 800 defense, and its effect reads: if the only face-up monsters you control are level 2 or lower monsters, this card can attack your opponent directly. Okay, so Do Dark first came out in the Hidden Arsenal 3 set back on December 7 of 2010. And the only thing I could say, the only deck that I think that can ever to play this card is that if you ever play a deck involving level 2 or lower monsters and stuff. Now, attacking an opponent directly is actually pretty good. It is an okay tuna monster, but I feel like this card is not good for only for Ice Barrier based deck. This card I feel like is only relies to deck involving level 2 or lower monsters. So I mean, this card could be good for decks with level 2 or lower monsters, but as far as using it for an Ice Barrier deck, that's a totally different story. I don't think this card is not that great if you play it as an Ice Barrier deck. Yeah, it's a tuna monster, but to be honest, there are other Ice Barrier tuna monsters that are way better than this card. And this card, was not in the Ice Barrier structure deck. And like I said, this card only relies on level 2 lower monsters. That's why I don't think it's good for an Ice Barrier deck. I think this card could be good for a level 2 or lower deck, if there's any deck about that, But even then, it may not be that good either. So yeah. So all right. So coming in at number 7, we have Secret Guards of the Ice Barrier. So this card is a water attribute, level 2. It's an aqua effect monster. 1,000. It has 100 attack and 1,600 defense. And this effect reads: face-up Ice Barrier monster you control cannot be targeted by the effect of an opponent's card effect monsters. Okay, so Secret Guards first came out in the Hidden Arsenal 4 set back on April 19, 2011. So this card, the effect of this card, protecting your Ice Barrier monsters from being targeted by an opponent's monsters, it's kind of a very unique idea of an effect, but obviously not a lot of Ice Barrier players are not going to play this card because, I don't think this card is not that great. I mean, I remember I used to play this card back in the days, and it didn't really help me that well. So I feel like it's kind of a waste of an Ice Barrier card. I don't think this card is not all that great. The defense of this card, 1,600. Yeah, if this card would have maybe at least 2,000 defense or maybe 21 defense, maybe it would have been a little bit better. But the part where it could protect your Iceberg monster for being targeted by your opponent's card effect, but there comes a times where your opponent's going to play some cards that has a non-target effect, and I feel like Secret Guards is kind of useless and a waste at this point. So obviously this card was not in the Iceberg structure deck, so I don't think this card is not that great, honestly. Alright, so coming in at number 6, we got Pilgrim of the Ice Barrier. This card is a water attribute level 4. Warrior effect monster. It has 1500 attack and 1000 defense, and its effect read: this card cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster with 1900 or more attack points. Alright, so Pilgrim first came out in the Hidden Arsenal 2 set. That was back on July 20th, 2010. So this card is basically kind of like a brick wall because it has an effect, cannot be destroyed in battle with a monster with 19 or more attacks. Obviously, I feel like this card is kind of a waste at this point, because while the effect of this card cannot be destroyed with a monster with 19 or more attack is good, I feel like it's kind of a waste of an Iceberg card to play, because there might be some monsters that has less than 19 that can destroy by battle, or your opponent has maybe some card effects that can destroy Pilgrim. So obviously this card, I don't think this card, the effect is okay, but obviously this card in general playing Iceberg, I don't think it's not that good either. This card was not in the Iceberg structure deck, so yeah, it has a brick wall, but there's like so many monsters that has the same effect that cannot be destroyed by battle with 19 more 10, like an Anonymous Celtic Guardian or Sonic Chick or any other monster for that matter either. But Pilgrim of the Iceberg, not too good, and the fact that this card has like 1500 attack and 1000 defense, not that great either. Alright, next one we got is coming in at number 5, Samurai of the Iceberg. This card is a water attribute level 4 warrior effect monster. It has 1800 attack and 1500 defense. Its effect read: when this card on the field is changed from face up attack position to face up defense position, destroy it and draw 1 card. Alright, now the drawing 1 card effect is kind of okay. I feel like this card's kind of meh. It's just a meh. But not a lot of Iceberg players going to play this card, obviously, because, the 1800 tech was okay level 4, so obviously, the fact, you summon it, well, let's say, you switch to defense, destroy, draw a card, I don't think it's not all that good either. The effect of drawing, the effect is kind of meh in my opinion, but it's kind of useless, because there's, other Iceberg monsters like Strategist, for example, that has a draw ability that's way better than Samurai the Iceberg in my opinion. Of course, this card was not in the Iceberg structure deck, and like I said, I don't think people is going to play this. Maybe they could play other Iceberg monsters like Strategist, because it has a better draw effect than Samurai though. Alright, so coming in at number 4, we have Caravan of the Iceberg. This card is a water attribute level 1 Sea Serpent effect monster, 500 attack, 200 defense. Its effect reads: once per turn, you can return 2 Iceberg monsters in your graveyard to the deck, then have both players draw 1 card. So Caravan first came out in Hidden Arsenal 3, that was back on December 7, 2010. And obviously this card, the effect of this card is kind of meh as well. Drawing a card is fine. It's basically like a 1 day piece, because you and your opponent draws 1 card. The only problem with this card that I think why people are not going to play this card is because covering the part that says, you have to target 2 Iceberg monsters in your, in your graveyard, return them to the deck. But the problem is there comes a times where your opponent can hand trap this card. Not only hand trap, but also your opponent can actually have a face down card like Called by the Grave to banish one of your Iceberg monsters from the graveyard, and then that effect will not go through. So obviously this card was not in the Iceberg structure deck, and like I said, just like with Samurai, this card is not going to be played. Not a lot of Iceberg will not play this card basically, but there's other cards that are actually better, like Strategist of the Iceberg, for example. So this effect is kind of meh in my opinion, so it's alright. Alright, so coming in at number 3, we have Geoman of the Iceberg. So this card is a water attribute level 3 tuner spellcaster effect monster. It has 800 attack and 1200 defense, and its effect read: discard 1 card and declare 1 attribute. This card cannot be selected as an attack target by an opponent with that attribute. This effect can only be used once while this card is face up on the field. Alright, so Geomancer first came out in the Hidden Arsenal 2 set back on July 20th of 2010. And the effect of this card, yeah, you only got to use it once, but it could come up at times. But the good thing I can say about Geomancer, this card is actually a very good level 3 tuner monster. The scar effect is actually good, like if you want to scar like any other Iceberg card and then summon it from the graveyard. There's so many plays you can do with this card, and it's a very good level 3 tuner monster. You can even send this card with Hexa Spirit to the graveyard and stuff. Of course, obviously Geomancer was not in the Iceberg structure deck. It's a very good, decent Iceberg card that I think most people Iceberg play do play. But obviously, I don't think a lot of Iceberg players are probably not going to play this one nowadays, just because there's like I said before, better Iceberg tuner. But I thought this one is actually a decent tuner monster. Alright, coming in at number 2, we have Shock Troops of the Ice Barrier. This card is a water attribute, level 3, spellcaster effect monster. It has 1500 attack and 800 defense. And its effect reads, you contribute summon this card to destroy one face-up water monster on the field. Add one Ice Barrier monster from your deck to your hand. So Shock Troop first came out in the Hidden Arsenal 3 set. That was back on December 7, 2010. I gotta say about this card is actually a decent Ice Barrier monster for many reasons. Because let's say if you have this card, and let's say if your opponent has a water monster, you can actually tribute, destroy that opponent's water monster, and you can get the search to add an Ice Barrier card. So obviously it has the same effect as Medallion. Of course, you do have to tribute him, and then you have to destroy one water monster on the field. Obviously, Shock Troop was not in the Ice Barrier structure deck, but it's actually a very good, decent effect. And not only that, but I feel like this card is actually more of a side deck card than a main deck card. This card is actually very good as a side deck card. And also, another good thing about this card, about Shock Troop, if you have this card, let's say you have this continuous track card, DNA Transplant. DNA Transplant is the one that, you declare attribute, and then that card lands on the field. All the monsters on the field will be the same attribute. Like, you have DNA's Transplant, you can declare water, and then all monsters on both players on the field will become a water attribute. Then you get your Shock Troop, you use Shock Troop's effect, tribute it, destroy that opponent's monster with the water attribute, and then you search for an Ice Barrier card. So I thought Shock Troop was actually a decent effect. I thought this card is pretty good in my opinion, just because the effect can destroy a water monster on the field. And then of course you can add any Ice Barrier monster from your deck to your hand. So it has the same effect as Medallion, where you can add any Ice Barrier from your deck to your hand. Alright, and the last card coming in at number 1, we have Sacred Spirit of the Ice Barrier. So this card is a water attribute, level 4 zombie spirit effect monster. It has 1600 attack and 1200 defense. And its effect reads, this card cannot be special summoned. This card returns to the owner's hand during the end phase of the turn if this card is normal summoning or flip face up, unless you control another face up Ice Barrier monster. In that case, this card's effect changes to select one monster your opponent controls and return it to the hand instead. So Sacred Spirit first came out in the Hidden Arsenal 4 set back on April 19, 2011. And obviously, in my opinion, this is actually a very decent Ice Barrier monster. Not only that, but also is a decent Spirit monster. Of course, obviously, Sacred Spirit was not in the Ice Barrier structure deck. And the thing about this card is a Spirit monster because a lot of people, we all know, is that Spirit monsters are not really that good of a monster type. Spirits are not that good of a monster just because they all have like the same effect. They cannot be special summoned. They can only be normal summoned, flip face up, and then during the end phase, they have to bounce back to the hand. But I have to say there are a couple of Spirit monsters that are actually good. I thought Sacred Spirit is actually a very good Spirit monster because instead of returning him to the hand during the end phase, you could bounce back one of your opponent's monsters instead. But you do have to control another face-up Iron monster in order to do that. I thought this card is actually a decent effect just because, instead of bouncing it to your hand, you could just bounce back an opponent's monster. And I thought Sacred Spirit is actually a good effect. There's so many plays you can do. And there's also a level 4 monster as well. You can go rank 4 XCs, or you can go single place or whatever and stuff. But the fact that this Spirit monster is actually one of the good ones is actually very impressive. So, yeah. Alright, guys. So, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoy the top 10 Ice Barrier monsters that were not in the structure deck Freezing Chains. What do you guys think about this? Are you surprised that some of these Iceberg cards did not make it to the structure that freezing chain? Like I said before, some of these cards, obviously there's reasons why these cards not in the structure, because some of them have like shitty garbage effects. But there's like a couple of them, I think they were decent, that in my opinion maybe they should have been in the structure of freezing chain, but obviously they were not, you know. But what do you guys think about this? So don't forget to like the video, share, and subscribe, and post your comments in the comment section. Tell me what you think about this top 10 Iceberg monsters that are not in the Iceberg structure and freezing chains. What's your thoughts and opinions about this? That's going to be it for this video. This is Domingo Hero Network. All I can say is take care. Have a good day. Goodbye, everyone. Domingo Hero Network is signing out. Peace.